I think it's not an accident that the first call in Ashtanga Yoga is samastitihi. Guruji always said first thing, he'd walk into the room, I loved it, the room was chaos, and he'd say, yes, samastitihi. And it was the first call. And it was very clear that he wanted us to be quiet and to stand straight and still. Like any Indian system or philosophy, the most important thing is said at the very beginning. In so many Indian texts it's like this. In Yoga Sutras, Atha Yoga Anushasana, he says, now we begin the study of yoga. I like to say, now we're ready to be beginners. Now we're ready to begin. And beginner's mind is so important. When we think we know, we're lost. We have to know that we don't know. This first word, sama, I think is so important. What does it mean? Something like balance, or sameness, evenness. It's like what Patanjali says. He says the definition of yoga is chitta vritti nirodha. Nirodha is a kind of smoothing out of the rough, of the bumps, of the disturbances of the mind and the body. And so this is the process of sama, is to make balanced and smooth, and then to find our true nature, which is the third sutra. Tada drashtuhu swarupeya vastanam. Now we rest, now we're steady in the truth of who we are. This is what yoga wants to teach us, the philosophy and the practice, that we learn physically to stand on our own 2 feet and not be pushed around by the conditioned body-mind. Ask yourself, are you moving towards sama or away from sama? And to understand sama deeper, that it's not just physical. Samastitihi is used in the physical practice, but the 8th of the angas, of the 8 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga is also samadhi. Samadhi is abiding in your own truth. Yoga is defined as samadhi in Patanjali. Di just means abiding in sama. To not just do Ashtanga Yoga, but to use Ashtanga Yoga, to recognize that the practice is a tool for observation, to help us see ourselves. And sama is the key, it's the goal, it's what we're moving towards, this realization that we're all the same. We have this technique we call vinyasa. To understand vinyasa, the deeper meaning of vinyasa, that vinyasa is the steps that we take that are made up of these breath movements. Each breath movement is like a seed that we string on our consciousness, on the awareness of our breath from the beginning to the end of the practice. And to see that each of these breath movements is not like a piece of dead wood or a piece of stone, but it's a living seed that we need to plant and to cultivate and to tend. So each vinyasa needs time to grow. And the idea that any vinyasa is finished, that there's a final point, is false. It's not true. It's a trap that we fall into, and it makes us practice incorrectly. We need to be more interested to get to the beginning rather than push so hard to get to the end. Less force, more intelligence, more compassion, more kindness needs to be brought to the practice. I want to help students be free to use the practice the way they want to use it. We need to be obedient to ourselves, to our true self. That's what yoga is asking us to do. But if we're overly obedient to the practice, then we break ourselves. I find it's really important not to just rush through the practice so fast. More difficult is to actually take the time to help students look deeper into what the practice is and how they can change the way they practice. The technique and the method that we use is vinyasa. We follow the path. Guruji was really clear about laying out the path. He was less clear about the details. And I think we have a responsibility to fill in the blanks and to continue with our practice, to bring this practice to life, to evolve it, to continue to improve it and make it better. We can do that. Keep practicing.